ABC. This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. In Washington today, the nation's leading banker, the Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, said, yes, the economy has been disappointing. And to help the economy recover, the nation's central bank is ready to push interest rates even lower. But in his latest overview of the economy, Mr. Greenspan said what mystifies him most is the national mood, what he called the extraordinary apprehension that makes it look worse to the average American than in his view it really is. Here's our economics editor, Stephen Ogg.
Greenspan told members of the House Budget Committee that he cannot understand the big drop in consumer confidence that started last fall and has continued into this year. And he said confidence is worse than it was in the 1975 recession, when unemployment and job losses were far higher.
The 1975 recession was far more severe than this, but the sense of despair in this one was far greater than that one.
An ABC News Money Magazine survey indicates a major reason for the despair is that after more than a year of slow growth in wages, people are feeling pinched financially, and the survey's index is at an all-time low. 56% of Americans say their personal finances are in poor shape. 76% say this is a bad time to buy things. 92% say the national economy is doing poorly. And there's no indication that things are getting better.
We are not yet picking up any signals that the recovery is in process. Usually we have a message from the consumer 3 months before things really improve. We've not yet received that message.
President Bush told a meeting of grocers in Orlando, Florida, that things are not all that bad.
The professional pessimists tell us America has become weak and disabled, that our economy has fallen and it can't get up. Well, that is just plain bunk. It's not true.
But the key to getting the economy back up, Greenspan says, remains the American consumer.
I find it difficult to believe we can have any meaningful recovery if consumer confidence does not move along.
What's more, Greenspan said if the economy fails to move along, the Federal Reserve stands ready to lower interest rates even further to get it moving. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
Still with the economy, Congress this afternoon has overwhelmingly passed and sent to the President for his certain signature a bill to extend unemployment benefits for another 13 weeks. Without the extension, 600,000 Americans would see their benefits run out by the end of this month. On the touchy subject of economic relations with Japan, what the Japanese government considered a necessary correction today, even though any number of American economists have said, don't just blame the Japanese, there are problems to be solved here at home. It's always a little grating to many Americans when the criticism comes from Tokyo. ABC's Bill Rediker from there tonight.
The Prime Minister tried to make up by playing down his remark that Americans are losing their work ethic. I did not intend to criticize American workers at all, he said. Japanese business leaders immediately chimed in. The chairman of Nissan Motors today invited American reporters to a briefing where he praised U.S. workers as hardworking and motivated. At least those working at plants where the managers are Japanese.
The products they turn out at our factories in America are as good as those we turn out in Japan.
The positive spin was also in evidence at a banquet tonight for American auto parts manufacturers. The Japanese stressed cooperation. These Americans, eager to do business here, agreed.
There has to be a long-term commitment to developing a long-term partnership in the market.
On Japan's top-rated television newscast tonight, anchorman Hiroshi Kume blamed foreign reporters for exaggerating tensions. Using U.S. television coverage of the Miyazawa flap, he said American journalists seemed to damage U.S.-Japan relations intentionally. Other media say Americans in general are too thin-skinned. The headline in this afternoon's Sankei Shimbun reads, a hypersensitive reaction to the Prime Minister's comments. The cycle of criticism, apology, and more criticism continues. But both the government and Japanese businessmen believe their message is getting through. Don't blame Japan for America's problems. Bill Rediker, ABC News, Tokyo.
The head of the United Auto Workers Union said today there is no American problem. Owen Bieber says that Japanese officials are criticizing U.S. workers because they're scared. Mr. Bieber says the quality of American cars has improved so much that the Japanese are worried about the competition. Well, there's no way to prove that, but as ABC's Bob Jamieson reports, quality continues to be very much in the eye of the beholder.
It was in California, where Americans drive most, that Japanese automakers succeeded first. The Japanese now control half the California market because buyers believe their cars are better. But on this Buick lot in Pasadena, you can find the first signs of change in that perception.
We seem to get more people looking at our product. Now, that doesn't mean our sales have just skyrocketed, but we do have interest.
For 25 years, the California research firm J.D. Power has accurately forecast which cars the public will buy. And a new study shows many consumers now believe American cars are getting better.
You see various pockets throughout the country of more and more buyers becoming more sympathetic with the sincere efforts that the domestics have been making.
For the last 6 years, Power has charted a dramatic and steady change in customer complaints about the quality of cars coming off domestic assembly lines. In 1988, Ford's Taurus had 150 mechanical defects per 100 cars built. By 1991, only 120 per 100 cars, a 20% improvement. Chrysler's Fifth Avenue had 26% fewer defects, and the Chevrolet Corsica improved by 40%. But reliability remains a problem. When American cars become 5 years old, they still require twice as many repairs as Japanese cars. When replacement parts are needed, Japanese companies often provide them in hours. With domestic automakers, it can take days. Mechanics say it is premature for Big Three executives to declare their problems solved.
I think they ought to come down here and have a chat with us, guys that are actually turning wrenches and doing it for a living, trying to maintain profitability, customer satisfaction day in and day out.
And a 5-year study of auto manufacturing by MIT concludes that Detroit must do more than make a few good models from year to year.
What we have to do is change it from look at this and look at that to a consistency. And for Detroit to be able to over and over again turn out a quality product.
If Detroit can do that, it can beat the Japanese. Every consumer survey shows Americans want to buy domestic cars. Detroit does not even have to make a better car than the Japanese consumers say. Just one is good. Bob Jamieson, ABC News, Los Angeles.
There was better news for Detroit today. The Big Three car makers say that sales for the last 10 days in January were up more than 16% from a year ago. And on the subject of driving foreign cars, in London today, a British union official said that Lady Diana, the wife of Prince Charles, is insensitive and deeply unpatriotic. Lady Di has replaced her British Jaguar with a German Mercedes. In a moment, some of the other news. All 1,200 lawyers in Knoxville, Tennessee, who are told they will defend the poor. On the American agenda tonight, our series on the crisis in healthcare, trying to control the cost of prescription drugs, and an extraordinary look at what it has been like in Zurich's Needle Park.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.